Vejam. I'm on mute. Now you can hear me, right? I was talking to myself here.
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, 100%.
Excellent. Great.
But let me have my phone.
Itsuko Hino. Hello.
More people are joining. I'm gonna have to control this thing. Now there is this waiting room.
Right.
You have to be. Hi, Chris. Hello,
Hello.
Nana.
How are you doing? Hello.
All fine. Good to see you.
Yeah, you're gonna
Yeah.
have to let 50 people into the waiting room.
Oh, wow. Yeah. And that's gonna happen because like we have over 60 registrations.
Well, because I have a lot of people interested in it.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I hope you get some new members out of it because a lot of people were unaware of the organization and just happy to participate.
I hope that happens, and I hope they love your presentation, which I know they will.
I hope so.
Because you have great content and great personalities, so how will they not?
I did a practice last night for North Carolina State University.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they were
Nice.
supposed to come to Fashion Week and they couldn't, as most people couldn't. So I
Yeah.
said, I'll bring Fashion Week to you. And so I
bring yourself into it.
Whoop,
We feel so fortunate that you're doing that for us.
that's Camille Block.
I'm here.
Someone's helping her.
Camille, yes.
I had to
She's
switch
upside
it around.
down.
I'm sorry. Hi, Barbara.
Hi, Camille. Haven't seen you in years.
I know. I was so happy to hear that this was going on.
Oh, I'm so glad. And I know wrote a line. I know. Oh, wow.
David Booth,
Midnight in London.
amazing turnout. It's great to have you guys here. Thank you so much.
So Lisa, just a little bit of housekeeping. Are you going to monitor the chat so people will, if they have questions?
Yes. Yes.
David Wolf, hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Amazing.
He's a college student, and where are you? Wisconsin?
I'm actually not in college anymore, but I'm in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Michigan. So you grew up, huh?
Yeah, just a little bit.
You grew up and graduated. David, you would not have recognized Fashion Week. Oh my God, it was so good. It was so good. Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
so bummed I missed it.
Too bad only
I'm sure we're gonna have lots of questions about that.
Right. So Lisa, so people should write their questions into the chat. I don't always look at it to see if there's anything there, so I'll trust you to like interrupt me. Oh, Chloe's here. She's from Canada.
Would you rather have the questions as you go or towards the end?
I don't mind as I go, as long as it relates to what we're talking about.
Okay.
Okay, and then generic questions can be at the end.
All right.
David, Chloe's here.
Hi, Chloe.
Hi, how are you?
Hi. Good.
She's a college student in Canada.
Oh yeah.
Amazing. Lucy's logging in.
There are 60 people in this conference tonight,
Oh, wow.
which just goes to show I should do this more often, right? Have like a class reunion. Like a reunion.
Isn't that true?
Yeah. You know what, Lisa, it's not a bad idea. Just to
Well,
keep the content going, you know, and can be informal on a weekly basis or something like that. A hangout kind of a thing.
exactly. It's awesome. Actually, I have been doing that quite often with my own students, and it seems that we are together. It's crazy how this technology works to really put people close together,
Hmm.
and especially right now that's the only way we can be close to people. We have to make use of this technology.
I love the technology. It
Yeah.
allows, look at all these diverse people to get together.
And if we look at where everybody is, that's even more amazing.
There's Chandler. Chandler's at Syracuse.
Hey, Barbara.
Hi,
Yeah.
Chandler. Chloe's here and David Wolf.
Oh my God, Chloe.
It's like a giant reunion.
It literally is.
Have you guys been classmates before?
Yes.
We dressed together. Yeah.
Yeah, they're my students.
Great.
Actually, yeah, Chloe took my class. Chandler, it was through our contacts at Syracuse. I work with their fashion director, teacher, professor. I've done the Syracuse Fashion Show in New York for 10 years now, maybe. They're upstate New York, and so their final project, they're curated and they can show in New York City at their Lubin House, their I guess their alumni house. So that's been a nice relationship.
Barbara, if you don't mind, I'm just gonna wait like 5 minutes so that we can
Sure.
get it started, because I don't want to have so many people jumping in while I'm introducing you.
Yeah, that's fine.
So yeah, because people are really being punctual and joining in right now.
Okay, I see Carol Davidson. Yay.
Hello, Barbara.
Hi, how are you?
Long time.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know, will we ever all be together again?
Yes, we will.
Okay, thank you, Anne, for that vote
We
of confidence.
absolutely will.
We may not be in the basement at FIT, but who knows?
It may not be as soon as we would like, but I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure it's happening.
I think we'll be in some event spaces before we're in the basement at FIT.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hello, Camille.
Hi, Ann. How are you?
Wonderful. Lovely to see your face.
You too. You look gorgeous.
Thank you.
Oh, she dresses for the occasion.
I know.
Eh, Carol
No,
put on.
I just dress, period.
I know you did.
That's right.
Yeah.
Just because it's Wednesday.
I was born dressed. My mother was a dressmaker. You have to understand the background.
Oh,
Carol Davidson.
Hello, everyone. Hi.
Hello, Carol.
hi, Carol.
Good to see you all.
You
Yeah.
too.
Everybody's
while.
favorite.
Oh,
Look at those
yeah.
glasses, Carol.
Yeah.
Well, you can only do but so much from the waist up, you know?
Yeah, accessory du jour, the glasses.
But look at you with your beautiful necklace.
Oh, thank you.
Are you going to tell us whose that is? Or are you gonna
It's
keep
a Greek designer. I don't know her name. I got it at a trade show. So,
Cool.
yeah. And it comes in colors and metals, and it's paper, like fabric paper.
Oh, it's paper. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very comfortable, very lightweight.
Nice.
Yep. I'm looking at your glasses. I decided that because I Zoom so much, I don't always feel like putting on full face of makeup. So I need glasses as an
That works.
accessory. And I don't wear glasses, so I just need clear frames. I went to Warby Parker. I had my first Warby Parker experience. It was awful.
Oh no.
Oh,
Wow.
It's hard to be,
Lovely glasses though.
yeah, it's
Lovely
just,
line.
it's hard for stores to be COVID perfect, you know?
Well, this is when they need to be perfect. Customer service has to be like it never was before.
Exactly, and that's what I tried to tell them. I'm sort of related to Neil Blumenthal, so I emailed the corporate office and told them how awful their COVID requirements were and their process was terrible, and they're supposed to get back to me, so we'll see.
You need to know that.
Yes, they do need to know that. Yep. So how many do we have? 30.
We already have 30.
30.
So I think we're gonna be respectful to everyone who's been here like in time to start. And of course to your presence here too, Barbara, thank you very, very much. And those who are in the waiting room will have to wait for a while. I am really thrilled to be here, and on behalf of the New York Tri-State chapter, I would like to welcome Barbara Berman, our presenter tonight, for this amazing New York Fashion Week trends recap, right? Everything she has to bring tonight to us is like really amazing information. It's gonna really make us have a little bit of a feeling of what New York Fashion Week was, even though it was virtual, right? So without further ado, let me introduce to you Barbara Berman. She teaches fashion show production, fashion PR, and special events, and the acclaimed Summer in the City intensive at the Fashion Institute of Technology, where she is department facilitator for the Fashion PR and Events certificate in the School of Professional Studies. Barbara Berman has been offering her own fashion show services to designers since the inception of New York Fashion Week in 1994. Her clients include A-listers like Valentino, Calvin Klein, Lacoste, Carolina Herrera, Jeremy Scott, Moschino, and Oscar de la Renta, as well as rising stars. Ms. Berman is registered with the Theatrical Wardrobe Union and has been a dresser on Broadway for Mamma Mia, as well as many off-Broadway shows, including Rent, national tours of Dancing with the Stars, So You Think You Can Dance, American Idol, Derek Hough, and concert performers like Frankie Valli. She has long-standing relationships with New York production companies, PR firms, department stores, and designers. Her largest endeavor is 19 years as chief of the costume crew for Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, involving 135 dressers and over 5,000 parade marchers. For this work, she has been given the coveted R.H. Macy Rowley Award. She was recently seen supervising the runways for the 18th season of the Emmy-nominated Project Runway. Her company, BB's Backstage, provides dressing and styling services for as many as 50 shows each season during New York Fashion Week. So there's nobody better to talk about New York Fashion Week than our dearest Barbara Berman. I'm so honored to introduce you to our crowded room tonight. Thank you all for being here. I'm Lacey Tomke, the VP of Events for the New York Tri-State chapter. And Barbara, they're all yours.
Thank you, Lacey, and thank you to the New York Tri-State chapter for hosting this get-together, which features a lot of my former students and colleagues and present students and college kids and a whole range of people. I think it's quite a diverse group, and I hope that after this talk and as you kind of mix and mingle with each other, that some of you will consider joining the Tri-State chapter. You don't Lisa will do the commercial at the end when we do our commercials, but you don't have to live in the New York area to join the Tri-State chapter. And if I know there's a very active chapter in Brazil where Sylvia Sigliano is represented. Hi, Sylvia. And the New York chapter would like to get more active, and I think they should. It's New York after all. It's the fashion capital. So you'll hear more about how you can get involved if you currently are not involved. And for those of you who aren't members, today's attendance is sponsored by the Tri-State chapter, and they decided to waive all fees for my friends and relations in order for you to participate. Paula is thankful. And they're happy to host you today and look forward to having more participation as either college members or full-fledged members of the organization. So without further ado, I didn't think Fashion Week was going to happen this year. I don't know how the rest of you felt about what was going on in the world. I just couldn't see how they could do it in a way that we had done it before. So I was just prepared to continue attending my beach club in September and not have to be up all night typing lists and reaching out to designers and stylists and collection coordinators and just go about my business. But I started reading and listening and studying, and it seemed as if there could be a little movement towards some live presentation. There were pre-recorded and pre-selected and pre-prepared options for the designers, but it's all about live fashion. For those of you that are working remotely, you know there's nothing like being there with your client and touching them, letting them touch the fabric and have you zhuzh the look and all those things that live needs to be live. So I was staying up late at night and I had one of those sit up in bed moments and I said, oh my God, there is a way to do this where you don't have to be face to face with the models and you don't have to be crowded into a room. And I learned it from the European models. When I first started in the business, I think it was 94-ish, I was doing a lingerie show, believe it or not, of a European brand. I don't remember what it was. And they brought in the European lingerie models that were familiar to the brand. And we set up the backstage as we always do with our racks and the wardrobe by model. And the girls came back and they said to me, where are the chairs? And I said, there's no chair backstage. There's no sitting during Fashion Week. And they said, well, that's what we do in Europe. The chair serves as a valet. I don't know if any of you know that old fashioned, like it looks like a hanger. That you put a men's suit jacket on. The guys used to prep their look in the morning so they could get out of bed and their jacket was fine and their pants were hung over a hanger bar and the shoes were in the bottom. They said, we treat the chair like a valet and we put the clothes on the chair. You, the dresser, puts the clothes on the chair and we pick them up, put them on and go out and walk. And then when we're out, you put the next look on the chair. We come back, take off our look, drop it to the floor and put on the second look and the dresser then hangs it up. And I thought, wow, that's really annoying. But for no contact, it's really brilliant. And I want to show you, I'm going to share my screen. We'll hope this all works out okay. Oh, host, you have to allow me to share the screen. And I will show you the first.
Yes.
My first idea and how I pitched it. Hold on. Hold on. I think I have to do the share first. I teach on so many platforms now and they all have a slightly different method of sharing the screen. Is anybody seeing anything?
Not yet.
Not yet. Hold on. You've set me up, Lisi, to share?
Yes, you're a host now, so.
Okay, here we are. Okay, are you seeing the slide?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so this is what kept me up at night. And this was the European style of dressing. The average clothing rack is about 6 feet when the ends are pulled out. So I'm like, okay, we have to do 6 feet of spacing. So if we put the model on one end and the dresser on the other and they sit back to back, that's 6 feet plus a little more and there's no face-to-face contact. So I thought, I'll pitch this. I call it no contact dressing services. And I reached out to all my production companies that I work with, the clients that I work with, the designers directly. And I presented this to them as no contact dressing services. and only one out of all of them got back to me, and it was IMG, which was great because that was the biggest, and that's the one I wanted. That was the IMG is the host of New York Fashion Week. So they got back to me and said, hold that thought. We're working on something and we'll get back to you. So I did. I held the thought. In the meantime, all the other people I pitched, I kept getting, it was very interesting. I kept getting bounce back emails. So-and-so is no longer with the company. The company, you know, everyone is furloughed. There is no one in the office. Get back to us at another time. So it was almost a good little research tool to see who's still viable and who's functioning. And IMG was the one that was on top of it. And they said, we'll get back to you. This was probably in July, early August, I started pitching the concept. And IMG got back to me in the middle of August and they said, we're going to run with it. We're going to try to do something during Fashion Week that will have a live component. Again, we've seen so many virtual presentations. We've seen films, we've seen videos, you know, they're calling it like death by PowerPoint this year. So we've seen so much that wasn't live, and I have participated in some of those experiences, but there's nothing like the live fashion show presentation. So I got back together with IMG. They said, we're going forward. We're offering designers options. It will be at Spring Studios, which those of you who've been backstage know quite well as the home of Fashion Week, recent home. It would be using their outdoor space on the roof, which most people didn't know existed. We did Oscar de la Renta there on September 11th, a year ago, on the roof, and it overlooks the Freedom Tower, so it's quite a touching setup there. And they said, okay, let's try to do some presentations. So they allowed designers to decide if they wanted to try to do something live or stick with a virtual format. It was their choice. The CFDA, which controls the fashion calendar, came out with a schedule. You may have seen it published. And they gave the designers who wanted to participate, they gave them a 30-minute time slot. However, the live shows take 3 hours to prepare and execute. So anyone that was going to do something live got a 3-hour time slot. The other designers got a half an hour, and they could do whatever they wanted with the half hour. Spring Studios invited them to come in, use a studio they set up for a broadcast if they wanted to do an interview format. Some of them wanted to just shoot a lookbook. Some of them wanted to do designer interviews. They had choices. But 4 decided to go live. I'll tell you the 4. Jason Wu, an Australian brand called Bronx and Banco. Has anyone ever heard of it? Raise your hand if you've heard of Bronx and Banco. David's saying yes. Chloe. Oh, these are the young people who have heard of Bronx and Banco. Do you like it? Shake your head yes or no. Chloe, David, yes. Okay. Me, not so much. But the designers are like my children. I have to love them all, right? So Bronx and Banco, Rebecca Minkoff decided to go live, and Christian Siriano. All 4 of those have been my client in the past. So what I'm telling you, I want you to embody as an image consultant and your business and think how you can translate what I'm saying in the world of fashion into your fashion clients. So all 4 have been my client before. Christian I've worked with since he was a contestant on Project Runway. Rebecca Minkoff since she launched, when she was just a handbag line. I've been with Bronx and Banco just since they're in New York, which is 2 seasons. And who's the other one? Oh, Jason Wu, since he launched. The point is, during time of trouble like we're in, people want comfort. They want familiarity. So they are going with firms and vendors that they know. So if you have a client base, now's a really good time to reach out to them, kind of hug them and pamper and cuddle and encourage them that you're there for them when they're ready to come back to their live opportunities. And again, I know a lot of you are working remotely and you're doing a great job with that, but it's just not the same. And we will go back to live in person at some point. So you want to keep your faithful to you while transition is happening. So IMG trusts me. They have, again, been working with me for a very long time. And these 4 brands knew that if I was on site, things would go well, smoothly, and that there would be the least chance of anything going wrong. They chose only familiar vendors, and IMG brought me on board as a vendor. I was their employee. So that worked out really well. And again, I was under their insurance and their jurisdiction for the short fashion week that we had. I can't even call it a week because we worked for 2 days. I call it a fashion moment or a fashion blink of the eye. We started on Sunday with Jason Wu and we said, hello, everybody, happy first day of Fashion Week. And we finished on Tuesday with Rebecca Minkoff and we said, wow, thank you, everybody. That was a great fashion week. But again, going to reliable, tried and true vendors. The largest overriding element that we had to deal with was fear. And everyone was afraid of New York and Fashion Week in September. And I listened to a webinar today and they said the largest fear during this time of getting back to live events is fear, helping people overcome the obstacle of fear. I have to tell you, the casting director, the sponsorship, Maybelline was the makeup sponsor again, the head of that operation, none of them had been, or me, had been into the city since March the 12th. And some of them live very close to the city. I would have to go on New Jersey Transit, which was not the least bit appealing to me at all at that moment. So they were all so fearful. And what IMG did a fabulous job of was calming our fear. And that's another thing that you need to do with your clients. You need to calm their fear. I recommend setting up like a COVID checklist, what you as a business are doing to provide safety for them as your client. So IMG, in coordination with Governor Cuomo's office, issued a 7-page safety document. Interestingly, I work on the parade, which will be happening. Mayor de Blasio is in charge of the parade, but Governor Cuomo was in charge of Fashion Week. And I'm guessing because of the international attitude about Fashion Week, the parade is the heart and soul of New York City. It is broadcast internationally, but it's Mayor de Blasio's project by and large. So he's overseeing our protocol, COVID protocol for the parade. And Governor Cuomo was like using a microscope to investigate every square inch of what we did during Fashion Week. I read the 7-page document and I'm like, oh, this will never happen, because you know how crazy Fashion Week is. How can you instill distancing and masks and all the other hand washing and sanitizing? This never happens at Fashion Week. It's like a petri dish of infection backstage and front of house as well. But they did it. They did it. And what was most comforting to me was that every single person who was backstage had to have had a negative COVID test no earlier than 3 days before their booking, which is pretty amazing. And when I read that, I don't know if any of you have had a COVID test. I'm like, oh, how is this ever going to happen? Jason Wu had 30 models. How are you going to get 30 models to go get a test? How are you going to get, I had 5 dressers. How are you going to get all the hair and makeup people to go get a COVID test? But guess what? They did, because you would not be admitted to the venue unless you tested negative. And that's another takeaway I'd like you to have as an image consultant working with clients, hopefully in person at some point. You need to have a COVID test. They're free in New Jersey. They're easy to get. New York is even easier. And I had a great sense of relief after that test that I was negative. I was kind of proud of myself, because that meant I did a great job of quarantining and I did everything I was supposed to. Since I've had 3 COVID tests, all negative, thank goodness. But what's happening in New York, because they're being so protective of the health of New York City right now, it's called a back to work test. And if you're going back to work in New York, you have to have a negative COVID test. And because I'm a freelancer, as many of you are, for every client that I work for, they need a new COVID test. So I've had 3 so far. I could have had 5 because there were 2 jobs I sent people. I didn't go on those jobs. And they were the same brand, but they were in different venues at different times, and they also wanted a negative COVID test. Raise your hand if you've had a COVID test. Okay, good.
Barbara, just a second. Please, people, would you just make sure that your microphone is muted? There is some sort of interference and a background noise. So if you could just make sure that it's muted, it's going to be better. Thank you very much.
Morel doesn't appear to be muted. Okay, good.
I don't know.
Okay, good. Yeah, I was hearing some street noise or something, background noise. Okay, so the COVID test was a tremendous measure of security during Fashion Week and going forward into showrooms and places where you're working with people. When we did our little dresser meeting and the 6 of us were standing together and the models were about to come into the space and the designer was present, I said, you know, I can honestly say I've not been in a space where every single person has a negative COVID test. You go to the supermarket, you hope you're safe. You go to a little family backyard gathering, you hope you're safe. I had been to a wedding of 25 people. I had hoped we were all safe, but I knew at that moment we were all safe inside the Fashion Week venue. And let me tell you, we all kind of exhaled and said, oh, thank goodness, we're in good shape. I was concerned about insurance. I maintain my own business insurance. I know I try to convince a lot of you to do that if you are freelancing, seeing clients, to get a business policy. And I called my insurer and I said, I'm taking people backstage at Fashion Week. What happens if somebody gets sick? Do I get sued? Am I responsible? What if they get sick on my little freelance job and they can't do their full-time job? And my insurer said, let me get back to you. That's a really good question. All these were such brand new questions because we were early September, things were starting to open up. They got back to me and they said, workers' compensation will cover anyone who's a freelancer with you who might happen to get sick on the job. I said, do I need to issue like a form that everybody signs, a little disclaimer, like the president was doing at his rallies? And they said, yes, you need to do that. And they drafted one and sent it to me, which I then kind of filled in the blanks that were more appropriate. So if you are going to be in a setting and you're going to have people with you, you're pulling an assistant to go somewhere with you, you need to have this form. And what it basically says is, I understand that COVID is a contagious disease. We're not really clear on exactly how it's spread, but I am willingly going into this backstage space. I'm willingly going into Spring Studios and Fashion Week, knowing this, and will not hold Barbara Berman responsible for any outcome. Now, those of you, anybody who's a lawyer knows that that doesn't hold up in court. It's like the lift ticket on your ski jacket that says, I know skiing is dangerous, and if I break my leg, I'm not holding you responsible. Yes, you are responsible. So, but it is just a another level of insurance that things will go okay. And to me, again, you can't be safe enough during this time. So I'd be more than happy to send that to anybody that wants to email me my template that the insurance company sent to me in case you're going into a place or you're bringing people with you to a workplace. You, of course, have to be using legal freelancers, which is a whole nother topic we can talk about at another time. But I think I slept much better knowing that everybody was COVID negative, knowing that I had read a 7-page document from the governor of New York and that I had a disclaimer in place with my insurance company. Now, business has been slow, as most of you know, and so I maintain a high insurance because I have a lot of work. I don't have that much work. Now, I'm paying a lot of money for jobs I'm not doing because they don't exist. However, I spoke to my agent and we decided that it's better to be overinsured right now, and we'll adjust as things kind of equalize and the clients come back or go away or are replaced. So I'm paying a lot of insurance, and I decided to pass that along to IMG. Is that fair? I think it's only fair because I'm entering their space and trusting that they're keeping me safe. And I passed it along to them and they were fine with it. For those of you that work with a fee structure, I have to tell you, now's not a good time to raise your prices. And it's going to cost you more to work harder, which is what we did. We worked really hard. There were few of us working harder and we needed more supplies and we needed just more time to be early and process correctly and get into the space. And I wanted to raise my prices, which I did when I gave my proposal, and IMG said, I have to tell you, the designers, they have no money. They haven't opened or sold anything in months. We can't increase the price. And when I say increase, I'm just talking small increases. We can't increase the price right now because they have no income. They're begging us to lower the price. So many of the designers got their shows at reduced price and free. It was my contribution back to help stimulate the economy. And maybe as you're doing your own business, you're going to charge those who can afford it what they can afford, and maybe give a little freedom to those who need to have a lower price in order to have your service. So that's something that you'll need to revisit. Again, it will cost you more through the pandemic, but it will come back to you. I firmly believe, sit tight, do your best, and it will come back to you in some way. Okay, so now it's Fashion Week. It was Sunday, it was September 13th, and the first show was Jason Wu. As I said, I was with Jason when he launched. Jason very smartly decided to show his secondary line. As you know, he's got a very high-priced women's evening wear line that Michelle Obama has been wearing twice for inaugural balls. And then he started a secondary line. It was called Gray. I don't know if any of you ever did that launch. We did it at the Cadillac House, which I don't even know if that venue exists. And everything in the space was gray. Jason's favorite color is gray. His home is decorated in gray, and his secondary line is called Gray. He partnered with Pantone, the color company, and they named a color Jason Wu Gray for him. For those who don't know, Pantone is the company that creates the color naming system, and you can buy a color with your name on it. It's like buying a star in the constellations as a gift. They'll create a color for you. So they did create the color gray for Jason. Cadillac painted a Cadillac gray for Jason, and they created ice cream that was gray. Everything was gray. It was a pretty decent launch. It made a lot of sense, and it was consistent with his color. So he showed Jason Wu Gray collection, his secondary line. Rebecca Minkoff showed her currently in the store collection. And Bronx and Banco showed, I'm not sure what season it was, I think it was spring summer of 2021. And they used their 3 hours to create a visual, kind of a lookbook, editorial. They had no audience. They just used their time to use the space and have a great editorial photo shoot. Rebecca had an audience. She did a standing presentation. The models were out for 2 hours in formation. I'll show you what the setting looked like. And her guests arrived 10 at a time in 5 groups. So there were no more, and they had to leave. When 10 left, 10 more came up the elevator. So there were only 50 invited guests, 10 at a group. And then Jason had 35 invited guests, and he did runway. Jason was so smart to go first and do it the way we've always done it, with models walking in clothes. And he got more publicity than anyone for that. Whenever you're first, you get the most. And he was excited. He was thrilled to be doing it. He said to me, this is how it should be, you know? I'm like, yes, Jason, this is how it should be. We had 30 models. They each wore one look. So I'm going to share my screen again and walk you a little bit through the look of Fashion Week. Hold on. And sharing. let's see. You're going to see like all the slides at once, and then I'll pull up the ones you need to see. Carrie Cordera's in the waiting room. I'll admit her. Okay, can everybody see this?
Oh, by the way, Barbara, now that you're the hostess, you actually have to admit people. I cannot do that anymore.
You can't do what?
I can't admit people anymore. I don't see that. You're the only one who sees that and has control to
Okay,
let people in.
okay. And right now, my picture is covering the icons. Oh wait, it's at the top. I don't see anyone in the waiting room. If there are, I'll take a look. Okay, so can you see the model? Lisi, can you see the model?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
But I see all of the images up together. They are.
I know. But the main picture's on top of it, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to go through that. I'd love to enlarge it because then it looks really pretty, but I'm afraid I don't know. I don't want to lose it. Okay, so this was look number 1 in Jason's show. For those who've studied fashion shows with me, you know that look number 1 should be strong, it should make a statement, and it should be worn by one of your best models. So this was Jason's statement. I want you to notice that the look is comfortable because comfort is a key word of summer 2021. Having spent 7 months in our homes in our sweatpants and our loose tops, I don't think we'll go back to really tight clothes for a while. So comfort was key. It had an elastic waistband. Jason used elastic a lot for comfort. The color was one of the signature colors that Pantone created for spring summer. And as I look through the collection, I think, I don't know what came first. Pantone created the color and Jason made the collection, or vice versa, because every color that Jason used is a Pantone color for summer of 2021. So I think they collaborated again. Remember, he already had a relationship with Pantone, so he was probably very comfortable going back to them. And likewise, who wouldn't want the exposure of the first show of live, like of the whole pandemic? Jason put his models all in flat shoes. Are you seeing my cursor as I circle the shoes?
Barbara, actually, people are asking if you could enlarge the image. It's really hard for us to see. I don't know if you have, when you go to view, if you can make it bigger, or if you would like to try opening the image on its own.
Let me try that.
When you open it, it may be that you'll have to share the screen again, and that's a pain, but.
How's that?
It hasn't changed it here.
Wait a second, it might. Can anybody see?
You're gonna have to stop sharing and then start sharing again.
Okay, I will do.
Thank you.
Okay, I will go.
I actually tried to take a picture of the image, but I couldn't see much anyway.
Okay. I'm at a very large full-size monitor. Okay, if I go.
Some people may be on their phones, and then it's even harder.
Yeah, let me try one more thing. If I enlarge it, see, then I lose my share screen option, but let me try it this way.
Actually, there you go. Yeah, perfect. Oh yeah.
Okay, you see it very large now?
Yes.
Okay, good. I may have to close it to get to the other slides, and this one I pulled separately. Okay.
Yes, you're gonna have to do that every time, unfortunately.
Okay, that's fine. We'll make it work. So again, Jason had elastic waists. This is a dress, I think. He does have this look also in like a culotte kind of fashion. He went with flat shoes. Every collection that I worked on had flat shoes. Again, comfort. We are not ready to put on heels, and where are we going anyhow? So yes, he went with flat shoes, and these were Velcroed so that you could tighten or loosen as you saw fit. and some ornamentation off the top of the sandal. Jewelry, layered, lots of jewelry. Every collection had lots of jewelry. Again, we talked about waist up styling, and jewelry is the way you can accentuate and individualize your look. The mustard color, yellow, rust were prominent. What I want you to know is that this fashion show was sponsored by Lowe's. Now, most of you know, not Loewe, the high-end brand, Lowe's, like Home Depot and Lowe's. During the pandemic, Lowe's was thriving. I don't know if any of you did home improvements or you fixed up your home office or made a workplace for your kids, and Lowe's was really booming. So they did well, they had a lot of money, and they thought, how can we latch on to fashion? How can we give back and be out there? So Lowe's sponsored Fashion Week. I think that was a brilliant move. They built this boardwalk and the rooftop that was Spring Studios, and they provided all the foliage. It was so lush. It was just really, really beautiful. So Lowe's provided the foliage and built the boardwalk, which circled the whole rooftop of Spring Studios. And the models, 30 models, one look each, walked through this jungle type setting, this very lush forest. Now, there were 35 guests, and they sat about, I'd say 15 feet apart in amongst the greenery so that the models would walk past people in the shrubs sitting in beach chairs, which was really very brilliant to do this. It gave that summer feel. It allowed the audience to be outside and socially distanced, and everything worked. It just worked perfectly. The other thing I want to point out is the model that is wearing this first look. Again, remember, the first look should be worn by one of your best models. Her name is India Moore. She was look number 1, and she did not dress with us in the backstage area. The pandemic arrived right on the heels of the Me Too movement. And the Me Too movement allowed for models to have more privacy and more control over their brand, their image, and their appearance. And so backstage, we had to create, the production companies had to create a private space for any model that did not want to dress in the communal area. Typically, the communal area is like a big department store where everybody dresses together and your garments are on a hook and you stand in front of your mirror. The models were dressing in a communal space like that, and it was pretty crowded. So India Moore, this model, asked if she could dress privately. I didn't know who she was, but I found out later. India Moore dressed privately, and she came upstairs, and there was a lot of buzz about her because she was very beautiful. And I think Daryl said to me, I think she's on TV. I think she's on that show called Pose. So for any of you that do watch that show called Pose, she is one of the characters. That's the show that has Billy Porter, MJ Rodriguez, and it's about the club and ball life of the gay community. So unbeknownst to any of us, India Moore is transitioning. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's why she decided to dress by herself, that nobody needs to see her what's going on in her life, and so she opted to dress privately. And there was a lot of buzz around her. Normally, I'd say there were a lot of photographers around her, but there weren't. Backstage, believe it or not, we had one photographer, and that photographer had taken the COVID test and passed all the protocol and was working for Getty Images. Getty is the company, and Wire Image, that are the official photography site for most of the special events that are in New York. And so one photographer shot for Getty, and that was the only photography that we had backstage. Not the hundreds of thousands of people all trying to get the same picture of one shoe. So it was a pleasure. And if anything good comes out of some of the changes that were made, we all hope that that's part of it, that there's privacy and that there's not a deluge of photographers interfering with the designer's attempt to have their show. Okay, let me show you another, the eyelet. Notice the trim. This comes back in other Jason Wu pieces. I guess it's a little, little summery, a little throwback, and a little feminine. So he used the eyelet repeatedly. Okay, now I'm going to get out of this and see what happens. I'm going to stop sharing. So technology is great for the most part. The next one. This was another look from Jason. I'll go. Can you see it? Lisi, do you see a model in blue shorts?
Not yet.
Okay, hold on. I will minimize and share. So I'm gonna have to do this for each one, I guess.
Yeah. Actually, Zoom has changed that because, well, when COVID started and everybody was locked down at home, everybody was using Zoom, and there were quite a few interferences. You were having your Zoom sessions, and people would just jump in and appear out of nowhere. So they started that as one of the security items that they added. There's the waiting room, the passwords, and all of that, which in the past didn't exist.
Right. Okay. Let me enlarge and see if you see it now. Do you see the model in blue shorts?
Not yet. Have you started sharing from the main screen?
I am sharing from my collection of photos.
Because you have to close that sharing and start sharing again. Did you?
I thought I did. Are you seeing the model in the blue shorts?
We're seeing nothing, just like the full screen with everyone.
Okay, hold on. We will do this again. So Zoom did some good things and some not so good things, I guess.
Yeah, they're not practical, but the aim is people will not be able to be sharing stuff that is not appropriate, which is what was happening. People were Zoom bombing your meetings,
Yeah,
and then
right.
sharing those inappropriate images and videos and stuff. This
Okay,
is
do you
why
see
it's not as easy.
do you see the model with the blue shorts?
Not yet. There is no sharing happening here.
All
It
right.
doesn't say that you have started sharing, so
Share screen. Share.
there you go. Yeah,
Oh,
now it
wait.
started.
Okay, now I need to get my model with the blue shorts and make her full size. Okay, this will be tedious.
There we go. Yeah.
And let me enlarge.
Perfect.
Okay, I think this look came a little further in the show, but what I wanted to show you is the return of the eyelet that he had introduced in the first look. I want to show you that Jason, again, was thinking of comfort, and Bermuda shorts are back. And look at the length of these shorts. I love this length. You know, those little short shorts that all the girls were wearing this summer, they're not back in for women. It's to the above the knee and wide and comfortable. Again, comfort. Comfort was about everything. Here are the sandals. They were Velcroed closure, so you could get a nice fit that was comfortable for you. This is the boardwalk that Lowe's built. The beach they provided and the greenery. Every model wore a hat. Hats were almost in everything I did. They were a trend because two reasons. This is spring, summer of 2021. We don't want sun on our face. Everybody's trying to be very protective of their skin, and so the wide brim hat was in. Also, due to COVID hair, you know, people aren't tending to their hair in the same way that they had in the past because they're home, and why bother? So if one of your friends calls and says, hey, let's meet for coffee, and you haven't done your hair, you can throw on a gorgeous hat, something like this, and go out and meet at Starbucks and feel okay. Every look that Jason showed had a hat. Some of them wore them with this chin strap, and others wore them kind of cowboy style down the back, but it was an accessory that everyone was wearing. Earrings. The other accessory, it's actually a necessity, but every look had this bra top underneath. I think he partnered in a collaboration with, and I don't know if it was Under Armour or another brand, Casabella. I don't know, but every look had one of these bralette kind of pieces, and some of the looks they wore it over the top, so that everybody was wearing a bralette. The designers don't love spring summer so much because you're not wearing a lot of clothes. Therefore, they're trying to make more pieces for you to buy. And if you're not going to buy the whole Jason Wu look, you may style yourself with a bralette kind of tube top. You can style yourself like this look without actually having to own this particular look. So anything they can sell you for spring summer is a win because you're not wearing a lot of layers of clothing in general. So that's what I wanted you to notice about this. And again, earrings, part of the waist up styling, and to sell you more things. You can see the whole Jason Wu collection on one of the fashion websites. But these blues were also part of the trend forecast in the Pantone color for spring summer 2021. So Jason stayed true to the Pantone colors. Okay, I'm going to exit and stop sharing. Actually, can I? No, I can't. Advance through the whole thing. New share. I can do new share. Let's see how that works. Let's go to Rebecca Minkoff. I'd like you to see what her collection looked like. She showed the last show of Fashion Week, Fashion Week end.
You're still showing the
Yeah, I'll
window
stop.
with all pages, right? With
Okay,
all images,
I'll stop
right?
sharing that. I'll get back to the all pages, and then I'll click, and we should enlarge. Hold on. What you need to know is that Chandler Burke, who's on our call today, is Rebecca Minkoff's intern, former intern. Are you seeing, let me enlarge. Are you seeing a look?
Not yet.
Hold on. Hold on. You don't see anything?
No, not yet.
I know it's slow. I'm doing something wrong, I'm sure. Share screen. Share. Okay, I missed that.
There you go.
Yeah, I missed that one. Okay, let's lower that and enlarge that. Okay. Are you seeing?
Yes.
Model in black jeans?
Yes, and wearing the mask as well.
Yes. Yep. So that's another trend of Fashion Week, the mask. Jason partnered with one of the anti-hate organizations, and they made a black Jason mask that the backstage crew wore, the staff wore, the models did not. They did not. I have to tell you, after the models had their hair and makeup done, masks for them were optional. And in honesty, most of them put the mask on. Even though they'd had their lips done and their makeup was in place, again, fear was very important, and overcoming it and putting the mask on made them feel okay. So it was encouraged, and we were told whatever the models want to do is fine. But in Rebecca's case, she made masks that went with every look, and this matches the print that's in the jacket here. This is not Rebecca, but she looks exactly like this, and she took some clothes from her own closet for the show. I think that those were her jeans and her boots. And she wore this exact look. This is a model wearing the same look, but Rebecca wore this look to her own show. She's boho chic, and again, she was showing what is currently in her boutique. Black jeans are everywhere. Almost every look that was casual from Rebecca was black jeans. Skinny jeans, again, black boots of some sort. Comfort. It was all about comfort. Layering. Necklaces, a lot. She's selling jewelry like crazy. Rebecca was one of the first she has a great Instagram following, and she was one of the first to get her e-commerce going when the pandemic struck. And she said she realized that stores were closed. How was she going to sell? Rebecca did everything herself. She and her brother just became like this little photo studio. I listened to an interview with her. They set up the looks and they did shots and they did IG postings. And she said her neckwear was selling really, really well, and she didn't understand why. And then, of course, with the pandemic and everybody's worried about what to wear on Zoom calls and virtual presentations, that you want it, if you're going to have something new, you want it to be visible, and so it should be a necklace. So her necklaces did really well. She was able to survive the pandemic better than most of the ready-to-wear brands were able to. Now, we are on the rooftop again of Spring Studios, and for Rebecca's presentation, the models were placed around these little vignettes where they stayed for 2 hours while the elevators full of guests arrived. Models don't like presentations because they have to stand and they're usually wearing uncomfortable shoes. But for the presentations that we did during the first of the live shows, the models all had comfortable shoes, something that they could stand in. And there were chairs around. If she chose to sit, it was okay. Nobody was going to tell her, stand up, you're ruining the look. It was very casual, very relaxed. So this was Lowe's again sponsored Rebecca Minkoff. So they helped her source all these accessories and props that were around her presentation space, the carpets. It was very well done. Okay, let me see if I can get another one. We'll go through this again. Hold on, I just did something very bad. Let's close that and go back to here. Okay. I'm keeping my eye on the clock so that we can get to some more of my backstage footage for you to see. Someone's in the waiting room, I will admit. Okay. Typically, Rebecca has live music at her shows. She has always felt it enhanced her looks. Her looks are a little bit rock and roll, and so she wanted to have live music. But again, Governor Cuomo was very carefully overseeing the safety of everyone, and it was determined that music, live music with singing and instrument playing is not acceptable for a COVID precaution. With the air that's exchanged and the amount of droplets that are expelled. So they prohibited live music. But Rebecca said, what the heck, let's go with the setup and I'll have the models stand around. That'll be one of our vignettes, like very rock and roll. And the model is holding and standing in the place where the musicians would have been. Black was very signature. Again, even though it's spring, summer, Rebecca was showing what's currently in her store. That's called the see now, buy now concept. She used models of all different walks of life. So this was one of the African models that she used. I don't know this model's name. And again, everybody was masked. So it was a little bit hard to figure out who was who. The model next to her was a full figured model, plus size, and she was wearing a short mini pleather mini skirt. And they were part of the little vignette that was trying to take the place of what would have been the live music. Again, a necklace, popular look for Rebecca's collection. And again, selling, it's fall winter, so we can sell layers. They like this season because there's much more that you can wear. So the 2 layers are more marketable. Okay, let's go to another one. I don't know if I can do it this way. Are you able to see a new look?
Yeah, it's showing, yes. If you just, yeah, perfect.
Okay. Another model with a mask that matched her little bag. What I want you to notice here, 2 bags. If you could sell 1 bag, Rebecca's known for her bags. If you could sell 1, why not sell 2? A lot of her looks had double bags, and that's a trend also for now. we're not going too many places. You want your crossbody to be light and comfortable, and then the rest of your gear you carry in your tote. Again, black skinny pants, the boots, a coat with a jacket with another underpiece. So this is a very marketable because you get to sell a lot of pieces. And you can, I think that is Rebecca. I think she was, that's her look, which mirrored what the model was wearing. And everybody was outside mingling and mixing. This was a little vintage, another vintage vignette that she created. Lowe's did the floor. They, with their sponsorship, they created the flooring. And it was very, very successful. I have to say, people liked it a lot. And I felt very safe. This was outside, so there was no worry about breathing on each other. I do want to take you backstage because that was revolutionary. Let me see if we can continue on with this sharing.
Yes, it's working. If you just
If I just keep advancing.
exactly.
Okay, perfect. And then I'll enlarge. This was hair and makeup. This was Maybelline's setup. For those who've been backstage before, have you ever seen it's so clean and calm and spread out? Makeup artists have to wear the shield. They have to wear a mask. This one's wearing the N95. I don't think that was required, but she's wearing the mask and the shield. We as dressers were asked to wear the mask and the shield. IMG provided the shields. They bought 1,000 of them so that everybody could feel safe. Again, the models, she's unmasked. Obviously, she's having her makeup done. And then at the conclusion of her makeup, she has the choice of whether to put her mask back on or not. Maybelline did not give, you know how they always have those giveaways at Fashion Week. There were no giveaways. Sponsorship was merely being there. And the backstage moments that their Maybelline PR was able to capture. There was no lobby set up. For those of you that remember the lobby where you could mix and mingle and have something to drink and get some hair products and so forth, there was no lobby set up. We went through the backstage elevator right up to our workspace, and you were ID'd when you came in. If you had negative COVID test, you got this wristband that you could use for your other bookings during the week, because ours was good for a week as vendors. If you were just a model who was in one show, you had to have each day, you had to show your COVID test and get a new wristband. But we were okay, we were set. That was an interesting look to the makeup area. This is my team. There's Daryl, for those of you who've worked with me before, Rudmilla. And I only took people who lived in the New York, New Jersey area. Again, this quarantining issue is it's required that if you come from elsewhere, you have to quarantine for 14 days. Well, if you're working for 2 days, it doesn't make sense to quarantine for 14. We wore the shield out of respect to the models. It wasn't required in all cases, but we all felt safer. And if the model was unmasked, it was absolutely required. So we had 2 levels of protection if the model was unmasked. When you're working with your clients, if you're in person, I do recommend that you do this. Again, you want to have them feel safe and comfortable, and you want the negative COVID test, and you want to show that you are respectful of them. The shield, I thought it would be more comfortable than it was. Your hearing's impaired. Your hearing's impaired because of the mask in your mouth. And then you put the shield on and your ears are inside of it. And we're all asking each other to please repeat what they said because it was hard to hear. But it's a requirement. This is the new normal, and this is probably what we'll be doing for quite a while. The second collection in between Jason Wu and Rebecca Minkoff was Bronx and Banco. That's me with the stylist, who is not really their stylist. She's head of marketing. That's another thing that you need to realize. A lot of people will be doing a lot of jobs. Typically, my job is to get the collection ready, dress the models, execute the show, and take them off and pack it up. But they asked us to do more things, because if you do more things, it means there are fewer people backstage. My team was very small. I could only have that handful of people. So Megan Campbell is the marketing director for Bronx and Banco, and she also knew every look, so she served as the head stylist. What I want you to notice from Bronx and Banco is that, again, the mask, every look, she's wearing one of their looks. Every look had a mask that matched and a head wrap. And again, this is for COVID hair. So you don't have to worry if somebody says, let's do something. You've not been doing anything all day. You've been working from home. You're not ready to take another shower and mess with your hair. You throw on one of these hair wraps and you're ready to go out and you look relatively nice. Flat shoes. This is from the collection, flat shoes. And to ornament their look, this collection, they did all this tying up the leg. Not my favorite look, but I guess that's called a gladiator style. That's what they introduced with their collection. And Bronx and Banco showed again on the rooftop, but they chose the opportunity to just do a visual kind of a editorial shoot. First for me, we had drones at Fashion Week. And I'm not sure if those were provided by IMG or kind of renegade drones that came out to see what was going on. But there were drones shooting from above on top of the Spring Studios building, which was very cool. This was the elevator that the guests came up in. It was a freight elevator that they glorified and branded for New York Fashion Week, the shows. IMG sponsored this, and this allowed the guests to go right from street level right up to the rooftop. It is a freight elevator. It's large. I believe they were allowed 5 people at a time. So for the Rebecca Minkoff group of 10 that came up, they came up in 2 elevators to the rooftop to enjoy the collection and see what was going on. Perrier was the water sponsor. You always want a water sponsor. I know a lot of you are doing your virtual appointments, and typically when you would have gone shopping with your clients into a store, you'd be in a dressing room, and I know most of you will provide beverages of some sort to make a little backstage spread. I'm going to suggest a kind of a nice thing to do, and I heard this on a webinar that I listened to today. When you're trying to create your experience for someone who's at home and you're not with them, send a little gift pack. Like, we're going to have our meeting at 1 o'clock and we're going to go over what's in your closet, and send them a little gift pack with a sparkling water and a little champagne and a couple snacks and some things that you think would be nice that if you were together, you would be offering them. And I think that's a great idea to get the feeling of being together when you're not together. So hopefully you can take that away. No outside food or beverage was allowed at all. That was the governor's mandate, and somewhere along here there's signage that says that. So there was champagne. This was for the Rebecca Minkoff Mix and Mingle presentation. Jason had no food, the water sponsor. Perrier launched a new kind of water. It had flavors. It was pretty good. Typically at Fashion Week, they launch a new product, and then we don't always like the water. Some of it's pretty awful. The water in boxes was one of the biggest failures, but Perrier is a well-known brand, and so people appreciated that there was a water sponsor. Moving on. This is some more of the Rebecca Minkoff setup as they were getting it ready. So you can see we're on the roof at Spring Studios. There's the Freedom Tower right there. And it's this little vintage vignette, and then there was the band. They took the whole rooftop so that the guests kind of walked through and then exited back to the elevator after they had their Perrier and champagne refreshments. Here's some more of the setup on the rooftop for Rebecca Minkoff, provided by Lowe's. In exchange for this sponsorship, Rebecca Minkoff, Jason Wu, and Christian Siriano have created a collection for Lowe's. So if you want to see the Jason Wu collection at Lowe's, you can log on to their website and see what he's designed in the way of home goods for the Lowe's brand. Rebecca did the same thing, and Christian Siriano did the same. Christian's show was at his estate in Connecticut. So I know Maybelline sponsored the makeup, and that team was going up to Connecticut, but there was no need for for our services there. Christian always has his own people that are more than happy to jump in. And again, it was 1 look per model. For Bronx and Banco, because they were using the time for their own editorial purposes, they had 2nd and 3rd looks so that they could show different scenes, scene 1, 2, and 3. And they went from casual to more formal. You can look at their Fashion Week coverage and see the shoot that they did. Okay. Cuomo's rule. I had to take a picture of this. Cuomo's rule: no food, no drinks. Only the sponsored beverages, and there was no food. Only the beverages were allowed. And that, again, we don't know exactly how COVID is spread. We don't think it comes through food and drink and touching surfaces. But if you have outside food and drink, there are more people involved in that process. And they just felt, let's keep it as sterile an environment as we can to keep everybody safe. So we had Cuomo's rules on what would be happening in the way of food and beverages. We did have credentials, as always. Once you took your health test, you got the little red dot on your credential. The health test was administered when you showed your COVID test. You then clicked on a QR code with your phone, and it took you to your health and wellness checkup. And they were the standard questions. Have you been out of the country? Have you been around someone? Have you had COVID? And once you got the all clear, you showed that at the credential desk, and you got your credential, and it had the little sticker on it that meant that you had passed all the health requirements. Again, it just was one more step in helping everybody feel safe and comfortable backstage, and I think it was good. It was a good one. What we have discovered through my research, I've discovered over time that steam kills the COVID virus. And I did a lot of research on this. I was watching carefully what the film industry was doing and these commercials and soap operas. And it was pretty clear that steam was the answer. So I proposed to IMG that they try to get Rowenta as a sponsor again. And they did. We had no fewer than 5 steamers everywhere backstage. I offered when the model took off a garment, they were pre-steamed, obviously, by the collection coordinators from the brand, or us if they needed that done. But I suggested that after the model took it off, we also hit it with a dash of steam to sanitize before we bagged everything. In all cases, they rejected that and said that won't be necessary. We won't be touching these clothes again for several days. As each look came off, we bagged each look in a poly bag, dry cleaning bag, and then they went into garment bags. So for those of you that are shopping for your clients or having things sent to them, bagging them properly is a really good idea, with a lot of layers of protection to make sure that when they arrive, everything looks and appears and is very, very sanitary. So that I thought that was something good that came out of all the research that I did. Okay, now this is a video of the backstage. For those of you who have been backstage at Fashion Week before, you know how chaotic and hectic and out of control it can be. I'm going to enlarge this and I'm going to play you the video. Let me know, can you see it? Can you see the first frame? Lisi,
Yes, we can.
Okay, so I'm just going to run the video, then I'm going to go back and talk about each frame, what was special about it. This is backstage at Jason Wu. Okay, how amazing.
It looks immaculate.
How amazing is that? When I showed this to one of the other girls who had been backstage, a college student, she's like, oh my God, I've never seen anything so organized behind the scenes. Let me back up and I'll walk you through a little bit of it. Okay, so what IMG did, which was brilliant. Remember I showed you the rack and how that would be your 6 feet of space? They not only did that, they built these glass partitions. They had them built. I said, where did you get them? They said, we sourced them through the photography studio at Spring Studios. So these movable panels were glass. And so every model sat in a glass little booth in her own chair, in her own little world, where she could see the model across from her. As you can see, there's a chair, but that model's in her own little glassed-in booth. Let me tell you, they loved it. First of all, models never get to sit backstage, so they had a chance to sit down. They had more than enough room that was their own. They had their 6 feet of required space, plus the glass partitions all around them. I hope this lasts forever. Now, this was built for Jason and Rebecca. They thought Bronx and Banco would dress downstairs because they were doing a different format, but it was so safe and sanitary, they decided to put all the live shows into this space. This is on the 7th floor. For those of you who've been to Spring Studios before, this was where hair and makeup was done for Gallery 1. You had to go up, you took the elevator, then you had to walk a flight of steps to get up it. And it was always partitioned into hair and makeup and nails and catering, and they took everything out and just made it a clean workspace for wardrobe. Again, steamers were strategically placed around. For those of you, yeah?
Do you think any of these improvements will become permanent for the
I
next?
hope so. I really, really hope so. How can we go back to the controlled chaos that we had before when this is so clean and acceptable and everybody loved it? I kept telling IMG how great it was, and I offered to write a letter to the governor letting them know how terrific this space was managed so that maybe this will become more normal. And it's also great for models' privacy as well. Yes, they're in a glass booth, but they have their own space and they can sit and relax and do what they want. They really, really loved it. Now, what I want to show you, the way we dressed. So here's the model's look. Remember that I had the chairs on the very first pitch that I did. I had the chairs at the end of the rack facing back to back. What IMG did is they put the chairs facing in, and we, the dressers, stood behind the chair. So we were never face to face with the model. And it was time for first looks, and typically we'd be running in to get the dress off the hanger and get it on the model. The models dressed themselves. So we said first looks, and the models went to the hanger. They got the garment, they put it on. We stood behind them to do any closures that needed to be done. We belted and tied things in the back. If we did a lot of shoes, the models were doing mostly everything. I did a lot of necklaces. Again, there were a lot of necklaces and layering. So we did a lot of that for them, never in their face, mainly behind them. And then in a few cases where a dress was difficult to get into, we would help them get their head through a tricky hole. But in Jason's collection, nothing was that hard. The hats were put on the chair for them, so they picked up and put on their own hat. It really worked well, and the models sort of liked it. You know, a lot of them don't like when people are touching them and fussing over them. So they put on the look, we helped fix it, and the stylist did very little, mostly, in Jason's case, he went around and tugged on a few things and pulled on a few things, but the looks were very easy, very casual. The model's personal bag, their commando is in there if they needed underwear, any of the personal things that they might need. We, as always, collected those back at the end. Again,
asking if you had to wear gloves while dressing them.
No, we did not wear gloves while dressing. We wore gloves while working with the collection at the end. The feeling was that the body fluids would be on the clothes at the end if they were sweaty. At the beginning, we did not wear gloves. It's really hard to work with gloves. I know those of you who've tried it. It's hard to do buttons and so forth. So we did not wear gloves. They were available if we wanted them. If the model asked, we did whatever the model asked for, but no, we did not wear gloves. Okay, I want to move down a little bit so you can see, you're seeing Jason's collection backstage. He had a little bit of black and white. Shoulder pads are back. For those that love that era, shoulder pads are back. Loose fitting, again, very loose fitting, self belt. A lot of things were self belt. You can put it where you want to belt it, where it's comfortable for you. There weren't loops. You just, again, they were dressing real women. So some of the models were pregnant, some were plus size. There was a nursing mom. There was a Muslim, all different kinds of real women. So real women want to put the belt where it feels comfortable for them. So I thought that Jason's collection was very, very well thought out. Really, really well thought out. One of the key colors of the year is this yellow. I guess it's called marigold, something like that. Very difficult color to wear. For those of you that are color experts, one thing that has bothered me for 25 years of Fashion Week, the models are cast based on their bodies and their look and their walk, and they then have fittings to see what they'll wear during the show, and they never pay attention to what color looks good on that model. And back when I was a young worker, I always dressed Alec Weck, who was the Senegalese very black model, and they always put her in the white. And one day she said to me, Barbara, why is the black girl always in white? And I kind of stood there for a second. I said, because you look so awesome in white. And she accepted that answer. But this is a hard color to wear, and you have to think carefully about who wears this color. They don't. They just put the best body type in that particular color. So that was, and this is the last look that's in the video. Again, loose, comfortable. There were a lot of vertical stripes. I think Jason knows that women kind of put on a little weight during the pandemic. I think Jason may have put on a little weight during the pandemic. So we are not ready to get buckled in and nipped and tucked into really tight-fitting clothes. So these dresses, again, a self belt around the waist that you can put where you want. Your friend calls and says, so let's take the kids to the park, and you want to dress in something special. You can put this on and be comfortable and casual and look kind of nice. That was his theme. That was definitely his theme. And if you look back at his whole collection, you will get to experience that. Okay. We're getting to the end. I'll skip the Carolina Herrera, and let me stop sharing for a moment. I did work with Carolina Herrera. She opted to do the polar opposite of what the other three designers did. Carolina Herrera did a video at a bank, former bank in Brooklyn, One Hanson Place. It's now an event space. It's very beautiful. It's very, very beautiful. We did, if any of you did the Project Runway finale with me a couple seasons ago in Brooklyn, that's where it was. And Wes Gordon, who's the designer for Carolina Herrera now, did evening wear like crazy. And he said, women will dress up again. And Carolina Herrera was his inspiration. You can Google that video. It was produced by KCD, which is the top production company in New York. And it is gorgeous. I sent it to one of the producers I work with who does Naeem Khan, and he said to me, I wanted him to see it. It was so beautiful. And he said, Barbara, this, of all the videos that are out there from Paris and Milan and London, this is the most beautiful video. It's 10 minutes long. Wes narrates it. He talks about his inspiration. He talks about his trends that he was trying to forecast in the looks. And if you've got a story to tell, 10 minutes is plenty of time. And he certainly told the Carolina Herrera story in 10 gorgeous minutes. So for all the casual wear that we saw from all the brands that did live work, Carolina did something just gorgeous. If you get a chance, take a look at that. I do have one more slide I want to share before we do some questions. Okay. Should not have exited so quickly. Let me see if I can get this to. No, I'm going to have to go back to here and do it this way. Okay, do you see a poster that says the new normal for styling?
Yes, but you haven't opened yet, right?
I don't, this was done in PowerPoint, so I don't know if I could enlarge it.
Yeah, you can just open it.
Click on it.
Yeah, and then actually it's better if you first open it and then you start sharing from the PowerPoint, like I mean from our screen, but then you will choose the PowerPoint instead of this window.
Okay.
Hey, but no, I think it had opened, yeah.
Let me try new share. I think that's as large as I can do it on the.
Yeah, perfect.
Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, so in summary, this is kind of what I've come up with. Again, I'm not a trend forecaster like a lot of you are. I'm not an influencer. I just am a person who's there a lot, and I'm very observant, and I ask a lot of questions. And so what I took out of Fashion Week is that e-commerce is larger than ever. Everyone is pivoting to e-commerce. I know a lot of you are doing your virtual work, but and you're ordering through websites for your clients and so forth. I saw that Carrie's on this call. Carrie has done a lot with her virtual appointments. Everybody on this call is a resource in one capacity or another. I look at Chandler Burke from Syracuse, who's a senior design student. Chandler is sponsored by Express Men because he posts these great Instagram reality photos of himself carrying their bag and wearing their jacket. Like everybody here brings something really special to the table. So Lacey, maybe we can do like some sort of a salon type gathering of experts in different areas to share what they're doing and what works for them in the future. I think it's really important and it's helpful. I'm a teacher, so of course I like to share and teach and show and
That would
tell.
be awesome. Yes, we can talk about it.
Yeah, definitely. Let's map it out. What I noticed, inclusion and diversity. I'm always conflicted on the size image. I showed you just a little piece of the one model that was in Rebecca Minkoff's plus size portion of her show. It wasn't, she was just one of the diverse models that was included. And I have to say, the garment did not fit her well. And that's one of my pet peeves. If you're going to have a woman of substance, make sure the clothes fit properly. And Faith, my supervisor, and I kept wanting to pull down this pleather skirt that was riding up. It was riding up because it didn't fit her hips properly. And we both looked at each other and kind of rolled our eyes like, oh, you know, why couldn't they have made something that fit her properly? So if you're working with diverse clients, and many of you are, not everybody's a model shape and size, and even the models have fittings. Talk about fit and take something from a collection you've seen, and you can even see it now on a more full-figured model and translate that to what your client could wear. And it's really nice when you show someone of size a model wearing something in a collection. They almost feel like they can do anything. It's great for them. So inclusion and diversity were huge. Waist up styling, we talked about that at the beginning. I told you I bought eyeglasses to wear on my Zoom calls when I don't feel like doing full makeup. Anything from the waist up. Years ago, Paula may remember this, we worked with Maria Bartiromo at Valentino, and she's called the Money Honey. She's on, I don't know what, CNBC, CNN, and Maria used to come in with a budget from CNN, she was with them at the time, for waist up dressing because she sat at a desk. She was an anchor person on the Money Show, and what she wore from the waist up, CNN paid for, and what she wore from the waist down, she paid for. Needless to say, she constantly was trying on blouses and jackets and sweaters and things that the brand would pay for rather than her own budget. But that's, you know, waist up styling all the way. Seasonless dressing, again, the designers like to sell you the fall winter because there are more pieces to it. However, we are seasonless dressing now. So if you buy a leather jacket, you're going to wear that over your sundress in the summer. There's no barrier. There's no more white jeans only up until Labor Day. And you can, I remember as a kid changing my closet. That was like a big thing when my mother said, we're going to the attic and getting your summer clothes. And we'd have to try everything on and see what fit. And and change out our closets. But now everything just hangs. It's seasonless dressing. You just wear more clothes or you wear fewer clothes. No touch. This is really key, as I showed you with my brainstorm of no contact dressing, and even what your clients want when you're back to a live in-person styling session. They don't want to be touched, so you give them the garment and you zhuzh it and you fix it, but no touching. Another thing that has come out of Fashion Week that I hope will stay is called no sharing. For those of you who've been backstage with me, you know sometimes it looks like that Jason Wu show, everybody had a hat. Back in the day, there'd be 6 hats that 30 models shared 5 times. That is absolutely not allowed. And they tried to share shoes in one of the shows, and I just kept saying, no, I'm sorry, it is not allowed. It is not part of the COVID protocol. So I can shut down a lot of things by blaming it on COVID, but at a Carolina Herrera e-commerce shoot, they wanted the models to be sharing some accessories, and the models themselves said, no, I'm not putting that necklace on after she's worn it. You have to sanitize it. So that's, you're gonna live with wipes and bleach and all kinds of sanitary things that goes in the sanitary supplies category. The little Barbara apron that used to have like 6 or 7 pieces in it now is a giant kit that's got so many things. We can't even share legally a bottle of Static Guard between 2 dressers. Because someone touched it and you're not supposed to touch it after they touched it. So you have to sanitize it to hand it off, or better yet, provide your own. So our kit has gotten quite large for COVID protection because you have to carry everything. Again, steam is the answer. I recommend, if you're familiar with the Jiffy e-steam, it's a handheld steamer that I recommend. It's available at Manhattan Wardrobe Supply, and it's also available online through other iron and steamer companies, supply companies. The e-steam uses tap water, which I really like. I give it as gifts. It costs about $75, so it's a nice item to give, you know, someone graduating or entering the fashion world, or even to have in your own kit if you need to steam something at the last minute. Sanitary supplies I discussed. And one thing that I've learned out of all of this, everyday moments won't be ordinary. People are going to dress up again at some point. Even now, I went to the post office the other day to mail something. I ran into my neighbor and she was all dressed up. And I mean, her bag matched her shoes, matched her exercise suit. I said, where are you going? You're all dressed up. She said, nowhere, just the post office. So something that's just so ordinary as doing your errands will become special. And you're not going to save that top that you got for your birthday that you've been saving for a special occasion. Wear it now. What are you waiting for? Make today a special day. And I think that's a good way to end with everyday moments just won't be ordinary anymore. Okay, Lisi, do you have questions that have been rolling in for me?
Not at the moment, but I think people would ask their questions themselves. What I like to hear is that like people are so excited about having the salon meet and greet. And that's something that I have already discussed with Lucy, our president, and we will absolutely do that. So keep tuned, that will happen.
Excellent, great. I see a lot of my friends on here. We have, let me talk about the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade just for a second, because once again, I am the wardrobe coordinator for that. I'll be hiring a much smaller group. We are having a parade despite the press. You know, the press is our worst enemy. They just are spreading untruths and half-truths and so forth. But yes, we are having a parade. It's not all virtual. There is a live component. And Thursday, Thanksgiving Day at 9 a.m., when you turn on NBC, you will see the live parade. What we are doing live on Thursday are the balloons and the floats. On Wednesday, we're also doing a parade, and we're pre-recording the clowns and the specialty numbers. There will not be a Broadway segment. There will be entertainment, but Broadway shows are closed, so they won't be showcasing their component. Something really special, you'll be among the first to know this. In order to get the parade approved, as I said, Mayor de Blasio was the the lead on this, they had to do something different and more than just be COVID safe. They had to provide something that New York couldn't otherwise have. So what Macy's has agreed to, and I think they even suggested it, any parade that was sanctioned by New York City and was canceled this year will get a spot on the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. So that will be the Gay Pride March, that will be the Puerto Rican Day Parade, all the Columbus Day Parade, the Labor Day Parade. Those parades that were canceled will have a segment, and that'll be pre-recorded in front of Macy's on that star that's painted on the street on 34th Street on Wednesday of Parade Day. The clowns will be pre-recorded. They'll be wearing masks with a big smile because we're not doing makeup. We're not doing clown makeup this year. There will be no children or teenagers in the parade. There will be no marching bands, no drill teams, no cheerleaders. It'll be a pared down parade. The balloons will fly, and the large ones that usually take 90 people to hold them will be held by 5 motorized vehicles. And the smaller balloons will have 30 people holding them down. The clowns units will be not groups of 20 and 30. There'll be 10 and 15 in the clown units. The floats will have their float escorts. Floats and balloons are sponsored. So that means when they are on NBC for their exposure, that's a commercial. So they pay for that airtime. And that's why they'll be live and they'll get their full segment so that they'll have, if the weather's bad, oh well, we'll just carry on. We, the dressing team, will be mainly outside. We won't be dressing the participants. Their costumes will be sent via UPS to their home where they can try them on and make sure they fit, and they can do their own hem if the hem is wrong, and they can fix their own sleeves and pass inspection. We will be the inspectors, the dressing team, making sure that the parade participants are camera ready and can hold up the image that Macy's Parade has always had in the eyes of everyone. I do have openings for Thursday, Thanksgiving Day. We'll be working from about 6 a.m. till 1 p.m., maybe earlier. We are having COVID testing mandatory, and there will be a company set up to do the 15-minute rapid tests of all parade crew, staff, and the participants. The parade marchers will also be tested, and we'll pass through a wellness checkup. We'll have a wellness checkup, like I said, with the QR code before we report to our workspace. It is paid as always, and if anybody's interested, reach out to me. Most of you know my email address, barbarab@comcast.net. Unfortunately, you have to live in New York, New Jersey, or Connecticut this year to participate, again, because of that quarantine requirement. We've been told that that's the protocol, the COVID protocol this time. So that's acceptable. Next year, hopefully, we'll be back to somewhat more normal situation. So that's the parade info. And I have to do a little commercial for my class I'm teaching, SXI 111. This is Intro to Fashion PR and Events for Image Consultants. And you can find it on the FIT website, fitnyc.edu/hot topics. Believe it or not, it is under-enrolled with all the opportunities that we have now to study. It's online. You don't have to go to New York. You sit in your pajamas. There's not even a camera on anyone. It's an online course. A lot of you took it. Cindy Ann took it. I know a lot of you from that course. And I'm updating it, as always, to be compliant with COVID and to give you some new and interesting ideas on how to promote your brand through events that you can do virtually and safely in person. The webinar I attended today was sponsored by BizBash and the New York Times, and they do believe that there'll be hybrid formats coming up where some will be in person and in a very safe way, and some will also be virtual at the same event. So I think we can talk about that for image consultants too. Maybe you're going to do some sort of an event with you and a few examples, live examples, but everyone else will stream in to see what your styling looks like. So I think those are some interesting things that are coming up. Questions? Any questions? I'm looking at everybody's chat here. Emily oh, you're exchanging information. Okay, good.
Yeah. We will email everyone.
Okay. As a follow-up, Lacey will send you information on how to join the Image Consultant Association as a student or as a full member. And again, you know, you can have these affiliations as part of your bragging rights when you're pitching to clients. Again, the reason IMG came to me is because I'm well known in the industry. I'm credentialed. I'm the authority on the backstage environment, and little upstarts aren't going to be worked with in that way at this point because of the element of trust and safety and security. So joining an association gives you more credibility than someone who just says, I'm a personal stylist, which is becoming very, very popular now. I see all kinds of people trying to run all kinds of courses and boot camps. And, you know, FIT, I think, was the first to launch the image consulting certification, and it's viable, it's received well, and why not join your own professional organization that gives you even more credibility when you're pitching someone, especially corporate nowadays. There's still corporate work going on. So you need to be as professional as you can with the proper certifications and affiliations. And there is a student fee for those that are college kids. And again, join the Tri-State chapter because this is where most of you hope to live and work at some point. You can join. Do you pay dues in more than one? Do you have to join each
No.
chapter?
Once you are a member, you choose your chapter, and actually you can have access to events worldwide. You don't have to only attend events that are created and offered by your own chapter. Like tonight we have here Sylvia, who is actually the Brazil chapter president, right?
Yes.
We have people from everywhere in the world attending. We have members in our chapter who are from Texas, right? So you can choose the chapter that makes the most sense for you because of the kind of work you offer, or because of sometimes marketing reasons. You will decide what chapter will suit you better. We have been working really hard here in the New York Tri-State chapter to offer more and more events during our term this time. So please, if you have suggestions, if you have comments to make, contact us. We would love to hear from you. If you are not a member, we would like to have you as a member, and the more the merrier. So we know that with your collaboration and with your expertise, we can have an even greater chapter. Next week, we're going to have another event on trends. This time it's worldwide accessory trends that will be presented by Jessica, who actually does a very similar work to what Barbara does, but more towards the accessories and shoes and bags. So you are all invited to join. If you have not received the invitation, please contact us via the email that I just texted here in our chat, and we will forward to you the link for the event. It will be on Tuesday, the 20th. It's Tuesday, right? The 20th at 5 p.m. Eastern time. Lucy, would you like to say a few words? Lucy is our president, and she's here tonight. I would like to give her the opportunity to speak to you.
Hi everyone. Thank you, Barbara, and everyone. Thank you for support ASAI New York Tri-State chapter. And actually, we have special Scholar Award image consulting award for FIT professional continue educational students. So actually, the application is just started. So you could find more detail on FIT website, and also you could contact us for further detail. And thank you again, Barbara, for the wonderful presentation.
Oh, and thank you, Lucy.
Thank you.
Okay, so are we ready? The comments have been wonderful. Thank you so much, everybody. I appreciate.
Barbara, it was amazing. Everything you have shared with us, it's been really important. It has brought us like so much information that will make our lives like easier as we go ahead now and have our clients, because you've made it clear that whatever you did during Fashion Week can be applied to us having clients. Thank you very much. Now we know trends. We know how to behave with our clients. We have even had like marketing suggestions as to like sending out maybe a gift bag before we start the consultation. It was really, really amazing. Thank you for supporting our chapter, and thank you for all your expertise and sharing that with us tonight.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Okay. Bye, everybody. Let's wave. Big wave.
Thank you, Barbara.
See you next week.
I
See you
did.
next week.
Barbara.
Bye.
Chandler. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
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 Bye. Thank you.
Good dear.